In August of last year, the new post-9/11 GI Bill went into effect, and the American Veteran devoted a special edition about this landmark legislation. Considering the new GI Bill's importance to returning OEF, OIF veterans, we'd like to feature this program again in its entirety.
Hello, I'm Jim Benson. This is The American Veteran, a public affairs program produced by the Department of Veterans Affairs. On this special edition of The American Veteran, we take a three-part look at the historic new GI Bill. First, with the help of our friends in the Department of Defense, we take a detailed look at how the new GI Bill will work and what it means to our veterans. Plus, a new Yellow Ribbon program is opening the door to veterans at many of the nation's top private colleges. And we take a look back at how the first GI Bill transformed the face of America. Then we visit a dude ranch in the wilds of Texas, where vets gather to help each other with their struggle to readjust. On August 1st, the post-9/11 GI Bill becomes effective. This is the most extensive education assistance program since the original GI Bill became law in 1944. Our correspondent, Ray Flores, explains how the new benefits will work.
The post-9/11 GI Bill may be hard to interpret, so to make this guide a little easier to understand, I've invited a few friends from the Department of Defense to help out.
We'll explain parts of the benefits that pertain to all service members and veterans,
and break down the really complicated parts of the new GI Bill,
and remind you of any exceptions to the rule.
First, who's eligible for the new GI Bill? We're here at the Pentagon's September 11th Memorial because there are two key numbers to remember: 9/11 and 90 days.
If you served a total of 90 days active duty service, you may be eligible for benefits if you were honorably discharged or retired.
That's whether you're active or reserve. The key is you must have at least 90 days of active duty service to qualify for the new GI Bill.
To qualify for 100% of the benefits, you must have served a total of 3 years of active duty.
And you can use it up to 15 years after you're released from active service.
Let's say you got a medical discharge and served less than 90 days. You still qualify for 100% of the benefit if you served 30 days of active duty after September 10th, 2001.
But what about officers from the service academies or ROTC cadets?
Good question, Mike. So let's say you graduated from West Point. You're obligated to serve 4 years active duty to pay for the time you spent there. Your GI Bill service requirements start when you fulfilled your service academy obligations. Same goes for those who enlisted under college loan repayment.
The Montgomery GI Bill works in a point A to point B fashion. One benefit with one payment. The student pays for the school up front.
And the government paid the student about $1,300 a month for a full-time course load.
The post-9/11 GI Bill is significantly different. Now students get 3 benefits instead of 1. The first is that the student, in this case Liz, doesn't have to come up with the money for tuition. Now the schools receive their tuition directly from the government.
And the government has a cap on how much they will pay. The way the policy reads is the cost of tuition and fees must not exceed the most expensive in-state undergraduate tuition at a public institution of higher education, which can sound confusing.
Okay, what does this mean to you? Between Ray and I is the border between Virginia and Washington, D.C. I'm going to school in D.C. and Ray's going to school in Virginia.
According to the GI Bill website, I am eligible for a maximum of $313 per credit hour and $3,660 in school fees.
And because my school is on this side of the bridge, I receive a maximum of $105 per hour and $665 in fees.
But be careful, because if you're getting a graduate degree or attending a private university, the post-9/11 GI Bill will only pay the maximum in-state undergraduate tuition, unless you're at a school like George Washington University that participates in the Yellow Ribbon program.
As Mike said, because of its location in D.C., the post-9/11 GI Bill will pay a maximum of $105 an hour and $657 in fees. But the actual cost of classes here is $1,157 per hour. As you can see, the difference is $1,052. It's a lot of bank to make up while you're trying to go through school.
By joining the Yellow Ribbon program, George Washington has agreed to pay half of the difference. And the VA agrees to match what George Washington pays, which means the student veteran pays nothing.
But remember, not all private institutions are part of the Yellow Ribbon program. Check out the post-9/11 GI Bill website at gibill.va.gov to see which schools have signed up.
And that's the first benefit of the new legislation. The second benefit is a housing allowance. Students receive a monthly housing allowance equal to a military E5 with dependents.
That's according to the school zip code, not where you live.
And this is a big exception. If you're like Mike here and you're currently on active duty, you do not qualify for the housing allowance. And you also don't qualify for the housing allowance if you're only taking online classes or taking a half a course load or less.
Why is this substantial? Consider if you were going to school here in Washington, D.C. or Northern Virginia. Your housing allowance would be $1,917 extra a month. That's a lot of part-time work you won't have to worry about while you're trying to educate yourself.
We all know the cost of books and supplies can begin to add up. The third new benefit is full-time students receive up to $1,000 per year for books and supplies.
And there is also a $500 stipend available to those who live in rural areas.
The new legislation might offer substantial benefits, but is it right for every qualified veteran? Ray Flores and his team return to answer that question and to take a look at how the new spouse and dependent transfer option works.
Remember, signing up for the post-9/11 GI Bill is permanent. You can't switch back to the Montgomery GI Bill if you figured out it's not the best for you financially or for your educational goals.
So we're going to try to give you some of the facts so you can make the best decision. First, what does the post-9/11 GI Bill cover?
The new benefit covers an undergrad degree, including vocational or technical training. Or if you're like me and already have a bachelor's, it includes your master's or PhD.
But a big difference between the new benefit and, say, the Montgomery GI Bill is that all approved training must be offered by an institute of higher learning. What that really means is any college or university.
How does that affect you? Well, if you wanted to use your education benefit to go to flight school or to culinary school, if that training isn't held at an institute of higher learning, the post-9/11 GI Bill might not be the best fit for you.
Even though the post-9/11 GI Bill offers great benefits, in some cases it's not the best fit for the student. VA has posted some case studies online so you can educate yourself. For instance, if a full-time student wants or needs to only take online classes because that student does not qualify for the housing allowance, it can be a financially sound choice to keep the Montgomery GI Bill. One of the most significant benefits of the post-9/11 GI Bill is the ability to transfer your education to your immediate family. The policy is not set in stone yet, but we can provide you the gist of how this will work. First, you must be eligible for the post-9/11 GI Bill. But if you separated or retired from the military before August 1st, 2009, you are not eligible to transfer your benefits.
Say Liz is new to the Navy. To qualify, Liz must have at least 6 years of military service to be eligible to transfer her benefits.
And I have to agree to re-enlist for an additional 4 years.
Then there are people like Michael in the middle of their careers. If he has at least 10 years of service and can't serve an additional 4 years because of a service policy.
Say I can't re-enlist for 4 years because I didn't get promoted fast enough. Then I qualify. But I do have to agree to serve the maximum time that policy will allow.
And for those about to retire?
The rules differ depending on your separation date.
Those eligible can transfer all or part of their benefits to either their spouse or their children in any combination. You can find the latest on the GI Bill transfer policy at the Department of Defense GI Bill website.
We hope you've gained a basic understanding of how the post-9/11 GI Bill works.
And remember, there are a lot of online resources available to help educate yourself.
For most veterans who served in uniform after September 11, 2001, the post-9/11 GI Bill will help you pay for your education at colleges and universities around America.
For Petty Officer Liz Murray, Gunnery Sergeant Steve Williams, Sergeant First Class Michael Bryan, and Stephen Smith, reporting from our nation's capital, I'm Ray Flores.
As you've just heard, the new GI Bill covers most, if not all, tuition costs at public in-state colleges. But what if you set your sights on one of America's private colleges, or if you want to study out of state? We'll tackle those questions next. VA is now partnering with many of the nation's most prestigious universities to expand on standard GI Bill benefits through its Yellow Ribbon program. George Dwyer reports.
Staff Sergeant Brian Hawthorne didn't arrive here on campus by accident.
When I was in Iraq and I was sitting in my Humvee, I'm like, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? I don't know, but I'm going to figure it out at college.
Which is precisely what he's doing now.
I chose George Washington University as my first choice when I got back from my first tour because I wanted to study international affairs and I wanted to be in D.C.
GW offers one of the finest international affairs programs in the country and also boasts an honor roll of distinguished graduates.
We have Senator Inouye, Medal of Honor recipient from World War II, General Powell, Major Tammy Duckworth. These people have continued to serve and they've used their education to do so.
But acquiring a GW education doesn't come cheap. In fact, Forbes magazine recently named the school as the most expensive college in the U.S., costing undergraduates more than $40,000 per year, a figure that far exceeds the standard benefits offered by the new GI Bill. And that's where the Yellow Ribbon program can help, covering the gap by providing eligible vets with more money, half from the school and half from the VA. GW, for example, will pay up to $18,000 a year in matching funds as its contribution. It was also one of the very first universities to sign on to the Yellow Ribbon program, announcing its participation at an event featuring Brian Hawthorne.
This commitment today represents more than just a financial contribution to a vet's education. It sends a clear message to both the veteran community and academia that those who have served in harm's way to protect the ideals of this nation are welcome to better themselves here in the historic halls of GW, as many in the crowd are doing today.
And that, of course, includes Brian, who has taken on additional responsibilities as Regional Director of the advocacy group Student Veterans of America, which works to ensure that veterans take advantage of the educational benefits they have earned.
Now you have an opportunity for a veteran to be able to return from combat and go to school effectively for free. You've earned it. You've already paid for this benefit. You've put your life on the line. You wrote a blank check to the nation up to and including your life. Come and redeem your benefits.
And now, thanks to the Yellow Ribbon program, you can do that at many of America's top schools.
More than 700 colleges and universities have already signed up to participate in the Yellow Ribbon program. For more information, including a list of participating institutions, visit VA's GI Bill website. Then click on Education Benefits and then on Yellow Ribbon program information. Even before the close of World War II, President Roosevelt was concerned about what the 16 million servicemen would face when they returned home. The original GI Bill, signed into law on June 22, 1944, has been called one of the most significant pieces of legislation ever passed by Congress. The results transformed the United States socially and economically.
A surprise military strike by Japan on Pearl Harbor drew the United States into World War II. Soon millions of young men were sent to fight major battles overseas. One of them was Guy Whidden.
That was shocking, and right away everybody young wanted to join up.
By 1944, the high school senior was parachuting into Normandy. While Whidden played out his adventure overseas, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt signed a bill that would secure his future.
The GI Bill was a product of a lot of thought and planning during World War II. It was designed to make sure that the shift from a wartime economy to a peacetime economy came without the United States slipping into a recession or depression.
Cornell University historian Glenn Altshuler explains how key provisions of the GI Bill transformed the country.
Maybe the most famous one was a provision for higher education. And there, GIs could get up to $500 of tuition, and that would cover tuition at any private or public institution in the United States at that time.
Free tuition and money in his pocket from the government made Guy Whidden a popular guy on campus as he pursued his teaching degree.
GI Bill, best thing that ever happened. Free education all the way. You know, I got about 5 years out of it.
The Veterans Administration made sure GIs like Whidden knew they had benefits coming to them.
There were many things that were done by the Veterans Administration. The Veterans Administration produced a number of brochures and distributed those brochures to the GIs when they were mustering out.
That the Japs have surrendered unconditionally.
For people who were poor, for people who came with families where no one had gone to college and no one aspired to go to college, having that opportunity made available was absolutely critical.
Soon, universities and colleges across the country were crowded. Paratroop veteran Milton Greenberg joined the thousands flooding campuses and classrooms.
This is a collage of photos given to me as a going away gift when I left my position at the American University.
This child of an immigrant family rose to be professor emeritus at a prestigious university thanks to the GI Bill.
It was a miracle what happened. Every campus was like a shipbuilding industry. You know, there was buildings going up everywhere.
Before the war, fewer than 5% of Americans had a college degree, and only 2/5 had a high school diploma. The GI Bill greatly expanded those figures. By 1947, veterans made up half the nation's college student body. And by the end of the program in 1956, 8 million veterans had received a university degree or job training.
Retired economics professor Bob Aronson got more than his master's degree from Princeton on the GI Bill.
We were quite happy here. The kids loved the neighborhood.
He used the bill's low-interest loans to buy his first house.
Well, what you're seeing there is the front of the living room. It had a wood-burning fireplace.
With the GI Bill's no-money-down mortgage, the former B-24 Navigator purchased the 2-bedroom home for less than $10,000.
It never occurred to me to wonder, was the government going to do anything to compensate me for the loss of time and opportunity? I thought it was very generous.
America's doctors and engineers and teachers, the ranks of those professions were bolstered by the GI Bill. We've had famous Americans and anonymous Americans, each doing their part in this great American society because of what the GI Bill allowed them to do. It really allowed them to reach their potential.
Originally, the Roosevelt administration estimated only 700,000 GIs would take advantage of the GI Bill. In the end, more than 8 million used one or more of its provisions. And now, some news you could use. Eligibility rules for Priority Aid assistance changed recently, making it easier for more veterans to enroll in VA's healthcare system. The new provision allows veterans who have incomes 10% or less above VA's national or geographic means test to receive VA healthcare, increasing eligibility for over 250,000 veterans. Any veteran who applied for enrollment after January 1st, 2009 and was denied because their income was too high will automatically have that application reconsidered. Veterans who applied before January 1st, 2009 will need to reapply to take advantage of the relaxed income restrictions. Veterans are encouraged to contact VA's Health Resource Center at 222-VETS or visit their website at www.va.gov/health eligibility. VA has launched a new website to help college and university staff learn how to counsel veterans on their campuses with mental health issues. The website features recommended training for college and university counselors, with online modules including Operation SAVE for suicide prevention and PTSD 101. The website also serves as a resource for veteran students who wish to learn more about adjusting to life after the military. To learn more, log on to www.mentalhealth.va.gov/college. A record number of more than 600 veterans are expected to compete in the 29th National Veterans Wheelchair Games, the largest annual wheelchair sports event in the world, taking place July 13th through 18th in Spokane, Washington. The games are open to all U.S. military veterans who use wheelchairs. In addition to the 17 sports events, this year's activities include the addition of a golf clinic and a Kids Day. For more information about the National Veterans Wheelchair Games or to follow events as they happen, visit the Games website at www.wheelchairgames.va.gov. Some combat veterans find that when they come home from war, they've got a new battle to fight, trying to readjust to their old lives. There's one program that's designed to help by providing camaraderie, emotional support, and a chance to get back to nature.
The Wildcatter Ranch in Graham, Texas. Hundreds of acres of range, dotted with stately mesas and flowing rivers. It seems like the ideal place to find healing, especially for those who face the horrors of war.
This is the first time I've been with veterans, and we speak the same language. We share the same problems. We're like brothers. Doesn't matter where we come from. Doesn't matter where we served. We understand each other.
And that's the deceptively simple objective behind Project Odyssey.
Take men and women from their natural environments back home, take them to a safe place where they can reconnect with other combat veterans and be able to talk about the issues they're dealing with at home, plus have a good time.
John Roberts helped found Project Odyssey because of his own military experience. After being injured in a helicopter crash, he suffered from severe post-traumatic stress disorder. Roberts finally dealt with the condition and realized there was a way to help others do the same.
If you look at the environment out here, it's peaceful, it's beautiful, gives these guys a chance to relax and do some things they probably would never do back home.
This is General. But the Odyssey is not just a vacation for veterans. Many of these guys are straight out of the combat zone. Roberts turned to VA to help him figure out how to best help these veterans help themselves.
Now he's a midshipman.
Robert Frame, a combat veteran himself, runs special projects and outreach for the OEF Readjustment Counseling Program at vet centers nationwide. He also helped design this program and attends every Project Odyssey event, providing direction and a guiding hand.
Most of the activities, if you pay attention to them, are designed to function when people work together. They're not competitive against each other. Each one competes within themselves.
It's not just about learning how to handle a horse, but about rediscovering how to connect with others.
Take the example of this morning when people are approaching the horse. They had to take a breath. They had to think it through. They had to readjust their way of behaving, their mannerisms, their body language, the energy that they were emitting to make that connection. It's a good exercise in readjusting to community.
And through the healing power of animals, these veterans gradually unwind and let down their guard.
That's a good spot. It's a good way to make friends with them. You know?
During the event, there are vet center counselors on hand who are especially equipped to help these veterans deal with their issues head on. But the objective is for the veterans to realize they aren't alone and to open up to their peers. building a support network.
He acted like he was a rookie. He knew how to do that. Wow. Throw it over there.
They realize that there are other people going through the same experiences, and they're able to share coping mechanisms, share empathic experiences, and create a circle of trust, again, like we had during combat.
It gives you a calming, easing feeling of being in that environment with fellow veterans and counselors so that you can deal with some of the things and issues that you have on your mind. I called her up one day on the Army phone.
When Army Reserve Captain Michael Coy returned from Iraq, he was feeling incredibly isolated. But he says being here has already made a difference.
Coming out here to Texas on a dude ranch for Project Odyssey, I feel that the environment is very calming, it's very relaxing, and you know, you do find a bond.
What we hope we provide is either a new spark or a new idea, a new thought as they move along in their healing journey.
And Freeman Roberts don't just want to help these veterans. They hope to create an ongoing lifeline for all the men and women returning from war.
My goal for these young men is that someday they get into a position where they're able to reach back and help somebody else that's having a difficult time. When they're able to do that, I've actually accomplished my mission.
Normally a for-profit dude ranch, Wildcatter Ranch donated their facility so that these veterans could attend free of charge. In addition to the Wildcatter Ranch, Project Odyssey has had getaways in Florida, South Dakota, Utah, and Maine. You can find out more about their work at woundedwarriorproject.org. That's it for this edition of The American Veteran. We are honored to bring these stories to you, the American Veteran, each month. If you'd like to contact the Department of Veterans Affairs for any reason, here are a few ways to do so. On behalf of the Department of Veterans Affairs and the entire staff at the American Veteran, I'm Jim Benson. See you next time.